and welcome. My name is Arwen Brooke, and today's class is really a reintroduction to the core and maybe adding a few layers to our understanding of that really powerful, important, and elusive place. Sometimes it's hard to feel into some of these connections. So I wanted to really spotlight a part of the body. It's this region between the pelvis and the rib cage. You're going to hear all about it in class, but it's really at the center of all of our movements. So we're going to really spend some time learning about it as well as moving it. And we start somewhat slowly, but don't worry, we really pick up the pace and create some deep connections throughout. So by the time you're done here, you're going to feel fantastic, you're going to feel worked, and you're going to feel your core. All right, so we're going to begin with the roller, and then we'll be using also a soft squishy ball. This one's a Gertie ball. If you don't have that ball, you can replace it with a cushion or a rolled up towel. All right, so let's begin. What we're going to do is set it up. You can have it lengthwise on the mat. I'm going to have it aimed towards you because I want to give you a specific view, but you're going to sit on it. And this is optional if you'd rather sit in a chair or sit on a larger cushion that lifted you up a little higher. That's completely okay. Okay, this is like the first part is just taking advantage of the roller for a couple of reasons, but other surfaces would do as well. We're going to do a little bit of pelvic floor awareness. So the roller is nice because it's firm and gives us some clear feedback, but a ball, like a large physio ball, would work as well, as will your kitchen chairs if that's where you'd rather be. Okay, if your knees have a hard time being bent this much, you could also put even something else on top of your roller so that you're sitting on two objects a little higher up. Just takes a little bit of organizing for balance. Okay. So as you find your way into position, I'm just going to let you settle. And then we're just going to talk a little bit about our bodies because I want to just bring you up to speed on some of what we did this weekend. As many of you know, we did a workshop on the core, and it seems especially helpful to explore it even more in class. And I know you guys weren't there, but you'll benefit from getting some of the material now. So the core is a part of the body as well as a set of muscles. It's this land between the rib cage and the pelvis, right? So your rib cage is a bony structure, your pelvis is a bony structure, and then in between is kind of this like spacious zone. So the muscles of the core wrap around that zone and create support there, but they're muscles, so they're soft and they are flexible. And we want them to be flexible and strong. And when you have a sort of a tightness pattern, say your low back is tight, that's part of your corset, but it can be sort of out of balance with the front. So we're going to explore that. So I'm going to have you use your fingertips and find your sternum in the front of your chest and the bottom of your sternum, and then feel your ribs as you find your way down to the sides of your sternum. You'll find the lower ribs in the front, and they kind of come down and wide at an angle. So they're going to give you some, you're going to be able to feel them if you kind of press with the pads of your fingers into those bones. Just underneath, you'll find the soft tissue, and this is where a lot of your abdominal muscles attach. And then you're going to continue around the sides and use whatever touch feels good. You don't have to keep kind of digging in and under, but you're just going to see if you can kind of feel with your hands or palpate the back body, the back of the ribs. And then we're going to bring our hands down to our pelvis, and you can feel in the front of your pelvis those bony points of your asses, and the rest of the pelvis in the front kind of comes all the way down to the pubic bone. So that's kind of a softer zone. But around the sides of your pelvis, you can feel the really firm ridge of those larger bones of the sides of the pelvis. They're called the ilium, and they look like those giant elephant ears, and they're quite thick and sturdy. They're just really strong and supportive in that way. And so we're just kind of checking in with them, acknowledging their existence and feeling the three-dimensional quality of this body of ours, because sometimes we can kind of lose sight of the whole and just kind of feel like we're working on this front part, and it's not really as possible to separate out the parts. So with your new sort of sensory awareness of your spacious part between the rib cage and the pelvis, we're going to move. So I'm just going to have you start by taking your left arm up to the sky and right hand down to the mat and side bending. And we're going to just breathe into that left side. So imagine now you're stretching the connections between the ribs and the pelvis on the left side. It includes everything from the front, side, and back that is just to the left of center. And you're going to take a few breaths to help with that sense of breath inflating the body and stretching the body. And then come all the way up. And then we'll take the right arm up, left hand down, and side bend. Drop the left shoulder. And so by being in this position, you're already creating stretch. And then if you invite that breath fully into your body, by collapsing that left side, your right side is going to absorb more of that air and inflate more and stretch more. The power of the breath. And then come all the way back to the center. Now you're going to take your hands to your knees or to the mat and just round forward and let your body rest into something similar to a child's pose, whether the roller is interfering with or supporting that. You can make whatever adjustments you need to be comfortable, but take a few breaths into your back body now. And just as before, we're feeling some space form now between the bottom ribs in the back and the pelvis, using the breath to help create that space. And then slowly and easily roll back up to seated. Okay, so now we're going to bring our hands to the sides of the rib cage rather, and I like to have the thumbs wrapping to the back so you can feel some of the experience of the back of the body. And then just take a few full breaths and feel the movement under your hands. So we're going to keep breathing for a little while, and I'd like you to really allow your breath to come fully in. So you're not just breathing up into your chest, but you're really kind of expanding the whole body. So if you visualize yourself like a container from the throat down to the pelvis, there's this filling up of the whole container. And our container is made up of all this soft tissue, and even the ribs have the ability to expand and move. So if you can kind of allow for that, it will happen. That means letting your abdominals go, and I promise you'll get lots of opportunities to tone them today. So being soft and relaxed here is completely okay and even a good idea. So now as you bring your attention there, see if you can keep bringing your breath even a little more fully into those thumbs, a place that we don't breathe as much as we maybe ought to. Stressful breathing tends to be high and shallow, and then stressful breathing can become a pattern that we do even when we're not stressed, because our body becomes a little bit more restricted. And then finally, while you're continuing this breathing pattern, letting your thumbs move with each inhale, see if you can also feel into your pelvic floor. These muscles that rest at the bottom of the pelvis, they are the bottom of the container. So they stretch on the inhale. And then as you exhale, if you empty all of the air out, you're going to feel the connection inward and upward of your pelvic floor. Your ribs will come in, your pelvic floor will lift up, and your abdominal wall will get a little bit toned. There's not a lot of effort required if you just empty out all that air. Take 3 more breaths just to feel the fullness of the whole body, the expansion of this whole container, and then the connecting. Again, as you empty out all the air, you'll feel the ribs come in, pelvic floor lift up, and 1 more like that. The release being just as important as the connect. So really let yourself stretch on the inhale. And then exhale and empty. Okay, great job. All right, we're gonna move on from the roller now with our recently released pelvic floor and our fully stretched torso. And we're gonna move into a Z-sit position with the roller to our left. So you'll have your right leg folded in front, left leg folded back. And we're playing with this relationship of the rib cage to the pelvis. So right now, see if you can find how that's affected by our mermaid. So we're going to take our left hand to the roller and our right hand up and over and simply side bend and then come back to center. And you'll feel how the rib cage on the right is being lifted up and away from the pelvis on the right. So we're helping to create that flexibility in our core, being able to breathe fully into that low depths of your lung capacity is really vital for your body in a lot of ways. So letting your flexibility be a part of your core practice is going to be especially beneficial. Let's come one more time out. Good. And then up. So we're going to move the roller into two more positions. The first one being sort of at an angle in front of that left knee. And then we're going to take our shoulders, we'll bring our hands out in front of us, turn and bring our shoulders to aim towards that knee and roller. Place the hands on the roller, and then we're going to roll forward, rounding the spine. Now we're stretching into the back body, but especially getting that sort of right side rib cage and back to stretch, and then bring the roller back in and repeat, rounding forward. So we're still a little bit to the left of center, and repeat, moving the distance between the back ribs and the back of the pelvis, creating space and stretch there. One more time. And back up to center. And then we're going to move the roller again sort of to the diagonal on the opposite side, sort of just 45 degrees from our center. And we'll turn our shoulders, place the hands on the roller, and roll out, this time probably going a little bit farther. And then roll back in and up. And then rolling out, rounding the spine. Think cat stretch here. And cat stretch to come back in. One more time. Cat stretch to roll out. And cat stretch to roll in. Now we're going to use cat stretch to roll out, but we're going to come up with that cow, reaching the chest forward, or like swan, lifting the heart. Exhale forward with the chest forward, and then inhale, round the spine. Exhale, reach out. Inhale, heart forward, rise up, press down into the roller, and then reach out. And then press into the roller round. We're going to go out one more time. And then inhale, reach the heart forward and up to arrive at the top. And then finally, you're going to put your roller all the way over to the right side. And we're going to take our left arm out to the side. And we're going to move out into a side sort of tilt and stretch the left leg long. And then bend the knee to come back in. Yeah? So, same as before, setting up your right hand on the roller, you're going to roll kind of between your wrist and your elbow, and then come back in and up. As you do this tilt, we're looking for both sides of your waist to stay long. And stretch out through the whole spine. So as you get out there, stretch the bottom side of your waist, but keep the top side of the waist long too. And then bring it in just one more time. The left leg stretching out is going to create this counterbalance, but really reach it to create space on that whole left side, and then come all the way in and up. Now you can leave the roller there, and we're just going to switch the legs. That is going to set us up to start this whole series to our second side. So the right hand stays with the roller, left arm reaches up, and over we go. Now stretching the space between the left side of the rib cage and the pelvis, and over. Good. So you're kind of rolling towards your folded back leg, the leg that's folded back. If you're not there already, right leg folded back, and you're rolling towards it. So it's that sort of less mobile direction, but really yummy through the low waist. That's it. And then we'll bring it up. So now you've been rolling to your right shin. Now you're going to bring it over to the front of that right knee and sort of 45 degrees from center, shoulders on, aiming towards the roller, hands to the roller. We're going to round the spine and then round to come back up. So for most of us, this is going to be the most limited range that we have, these two last positions, because you're moving towards this internally rotated leg, And so you're gonna feel these big, deep stretches to the back body, but you're not gonna move as much, but that's absolutely acceptable because we're really stretching what's tight. Holding the pelvis and legs in this position helps to really stabilize them and make sure that stretch goes up into the back body. So picture all these layers of muscles connecting your pelvis and your rib cage, really being invited into this really lovely stretch, and then coming back up. When you're ready, we'll be moving the roller next to the opposite 45 to the left. And then we'll just reach the arms out in front, swivel the chest and shoulders to the left, place the hands on the roller, round the spine, cat stretch to roll all the way out, this time getting quite far, your chest coming quite close to that front thigh, and then round your spine, lift your bottom ribs away from the thigh to rise up. And again, rolling out. And rolling back in. And rolling out. Now we're going to come into that swan. Reach the heart forward, press down into the roller, rise up. And then heart forward to roll out. So we're inviting a little bit more kind of fluid energy to the spine by inviting both movements, rounding and extending, heart forward, transitioning through one to the other with this flowing breath. And then one more time out, rounded. Finishing with a heart forward, rise all the way up, chest to the sky. And then the roller can be moved finally all the way over to the left side of the mat. From here, left hand on the roller, we're going to take that tilt. So lift up out of the pelvis, feel the distance of your rib cage and pelvis become as lofty as possible, and then side tilt to come out with both sides of your waist still long and your right leg reaching long. And then bend the right knee to come back up. Lift up tall, getting long and lengthened up and over, and then tilt to come back to center. We'll do that 3 more times. Stretching out, reach out in both directions, try to get as long as you can, stay long as you come up. 2 more. And then all the way in and up. And 1 more. Getting longer, touching both ends of the room, pushing down into the roller, lengthening the neck, and then stay long, come all the way back up. Awesome work. Okay, keeping the roller as it is, you can just turn your body into this position. We're going to lie back with our head and shoulders at the sort of floating over the end of the mat, and then we're going to take our hands to the back of the head. If you have loose fabric, you'll want to carry that along with. And then we're just going to lift the hips and massage the upper back. And there's that fabric I talked about. So if you are like me, you might be making a wardrobe change at this point. So we're massaging the rib cage and the muscles between the shoulder blades. And there's some big muscles back there that are famous for being strong, tight, and important. But also I want to sort of spotlight them for attaching your pelvis to your shoulders. So talking about those big lat muscles, they connect your pelvis to your arm, and they're big, and they can be tight, and they can disrupt our equilibrium in our shoulders. I'm going to have you tilt to one side. Let's all tilt to the right, even if you were on the left already. Tilt to the right, land your hips down. The roller we're going to position now between the armpit and the bottom rib, so it's kind of mid ribs. And then you're going to take your hands to the back of the head, and you're just going to side bend these little sort of mini ab curls side to massage those ribs. And then we're going to take your top elbow and pull it around the body towards the mat to come into a twist, stretching that back body, the lats especially, and then roll open. Turn with your head and shoulders, but keep your knees stacked so you're doing a twist from your pelvis up to your rib cage. So all of that connective tissue across the front of the body is being stretched from your left armpit to your right hip. And we'll do that 2 more times. Yes, there is a significant massage happening to the underside of your body, the rib cage on the right. And I'm here to encourage that, but I'm also really here for the twisting stretch to the left side. So believe it or not, that's one of the peak benefits of what we're doing. So we're doing about 3 of these big twists, slow as you need to go so that it feels friendly, and then come back to the center. And then we'll move over to the other side. So as you come to the other side, make whatever shifts and adjustments you need to. And then we did some rolling on the right side. And if you already did the left, you can go right into the hips down part, but I didn't. So I'm going to massage my left rib cage a bit with some hips up. And then when you're ready, we'll be tilting over to the left with the roller just behind the armpit and into those ribs somewhere between the top and bottom. And then you're doing these little side bend wiggle worm movements to massage that area. And we're moving in a way that's also going to help to connect us to our right side while we stretch and massage the left. And so whatever you're doing on one side, there's usually kind of an equal and opposite benefit on the other side. So take your top elbow and spiral it around your center to the mat, stretching into that upper back of the right side. And then spiral open and let your head and shoulders rest over the roller with some head support, of course, but keep those hips and knees to the left. And then twist again, turning everything, feeling into that spiral, opening chest to the sky, and then rolling around and back to the mat. Last time, each direction, and turning open. And then we'll come back to the start. Now we're going to take the roller out from under us and reset it out of the way for now, and bring your Gertie ball with you to the mat. So we'll be lying down, and then we'll be using the Gertie ball under our hips. So to begin, you'll lift your hips up and then set that Gertie ball under your sacrum. So there's no contact with the low back. It's just under the pelvis. And then you're going to just let your body rest there. And just take a few breaths as we kind of let gravity help us into some ease. As the ball kind of comes underneath the pelvis and lifts it up. So if you can let the rest of your body settle from the pelvis up, which means those low back vertebra and your rib cage. As you continue to breathe, see if you can consciously open your rib cage in the back, so your thumbs where they were before as you sat on the roller or on any of your props. Opening the rib cage in the back. And then exhale, and just feel that sort of gathering in. So when we breathe in, we expand, and the opposite of that is this contracting inward, but from all sides. So that pelvic floor, and then just the torso, it all kind of collapses back in towards your center. And here there's not a lot of work happening, so you don't have to be really effortful, but sort of using your more like fine-tuned sort of antenna to sense into some of that before the effort gets really advanced or challenging. So next up, you're going to focus on breath while we add some unstable movement. So your inhale is into your back ribs, your exhale is into connecting inward, and then once you've found some of that connection, you can float one leg in a tabletop and then lower it down. And connect and float. So this shouldn't be really fast, so you can allow your breath to become really focal to your movement as opposed to the movement taking over all of your attention. Inhaling into those back ribs, exhaling to connect, and then move. Your exhale happens over the course of several seconds, so you can really take your time. Let those first few beats be about getting the connection inward, and then add the movement after. So we're just kind of priming our core while practicing this openness of the back body. Our core, we want it to be long, that circumference of the rib cage and the circumference of the pelvis. We would like some distance between there at all times. We don't want to crunch that distance between the back of the ribs and the back of the pelvis. Right, so let's take the ball now out from under the hips, settle down, and let your rib cage really feel into the back. of the body into the mat, and then take your Gertie ball to your inner thighs. From here, same idea, without really focusing on any particular position. See if you just keep breathing into those back ribs. And then as you exhale, connecting into your core by feeling the emptying of the air. And you can start to add a little squeeze on the ball and feel that invite a little bit more energy in and up through the pelvic floor. And then inhale, release that squeeze, release the pelvic floor and expand. And exhale, connect and squeeze. Let your squeeze be about 30 to 40% of your full power, so you're not sort of overshadowing everything else. And then exhale, empty and squeeze. Now we're going to take our body into some bridging. So you're going to take that full breath in, let everything expand. And as you exhale, you're going to squeeze, curl, and peel up into a bridge. Breathe in at the top. Take another stretchy, lengthening breath, and then exhale, start to sink the ribs and keep the pelvis high as you start to roll the rib cage down, and then the low waist, and then the pelvis. And we'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, relax at the bottom. Exhale, connecting inward, peeling up. And then squeeze the ball. Send your hips further up to the sky as your rib cage starts to roll down. Keep squeezing the ball. See if you can feel into that pelvic floor, lifting in and up as you roll down. Inhale, release. Exhale, hollow. Feel into that pelvic floor again as you peel up. If you're not feeling it, that's okay, but we're just sort of reminding ourselves that it's part of our core. Stay at the top this time. Reach your knees out over your toes. Feel like your heels are pulling back towards your back pockets and your rib cage is dropping into that hammock of your back muscles. And then from here, we're going to spiral one hip high and the other low, and then alternate sides. Now your rib cage is staying fairly still, but your pelvis is twisting around your central axis. So all the muscles of your core are going to get pulled into this little lovely spiral, and we're like massaging everything at the center of the body, from the outer layers to the very deep layers inside your QL and your psoas and other such things, even your digestive system. And then come to level and slowly roll down. Beautiful. I'm going to take the ball now and set it up behind the upper back. So you can do a little roll up to seated or roll to your side. Tuck the ball behind your shoulder blades and then support your head in your hands. From here, feet are just going to stay out in that sort of bent knee parallel, and then you're going to take your head and shoulders back over the ball. Thinking now about the distance between things, we've got the front ribs of the pelvis really stretched right now, right? So what I'm going to have you do is, well, first of all, also let's just acknowledge the back. So the back of the rib cage and the pelvis have come closer together. While this is long, the back is short. So what we're going to do is just nod the chin, send the shoulders down, elbows forward, and then sink the bottom ribs and see if you could create some distance between the pelvis and the rib cage in the back. Focusing on the front is helpful, but right now we're really going to start to look at feeling into the back body and noticing how that really adds these layers to our connection of the abdominals as you feel into them. So rather than just thinking of the front and what you can connect to there, think about creating length in the back. And then to add to this, hold your next ab curl, stay with me, and see if you can create length to the sides from your pelvis to your rib cage. Can you get longer as you tilt? And even from the pelvis to the ribs in the front, instead of crunching, can you get longer? Feel these ribs slide away from your pelvis as you stretch up and over. You feel into that difference. It's some extra layer of connection. And then inhale back. Same idea. Imagine your rib cage, the whole thing is sliding away from your pelvis as you curl up. So this whole waist gets longer. If you were made out of taffy, or you were like Gumby and you get a little extra stretch, somebody's like kind of pulling your rib cage towards the head end of your mat while your pelvis is being pulled the other way. Everything gets longer, leaner, and our connections go deeper. So we're going to do 5 more like that. Take your time. And again, feeling on the exhale, the ribs drop down, but the distance between pelvis and rib cage really increases. We stretched it all already with our very sort of gradual warm up this morning. Now we're asking it to sort of power on with all that length, right? We have this waist. We wouldn't mind it being a little longer, a little leaner, as long as we have the support of a strong core. And so now we're going to take the next one up and hold. Give yourself that space. Deepen it. You get as many breaths as you need to. Exhaling to deepen it. Inhaling into those back ribs. And then from here, let's add a little side bend. So you're going to stay long, but you're going to stretch the left side a little longer as you connect to the right. And then stretch the right side a little longer as you connect to the left. So yes, one side will be shortening a little, but if you focus on the lengthening side, there's a lot more sort of power and depth to your connection rather than just crunching on one side. So create space and center, and create space and center, and then find yourself at balance. Stretch back. Take your next exhale, nod the chin, sink the ribs, curl up, get longer. Stay with this lengthening challenge. The rest is all just frills, okay? We're going to scoop and lengthen and float one knee, and scoop and lengthen and float the other knee. Now, if this right away takes you into your low back, then the very same thing can be done with one foot always on the ground. But if you're up for the challenge, we're going to take this into toe taps right away. So start with a sense of length. Get those ribs to drop and stretch away from the pelvis, and then begin to toe tap. Inhale into the back ribs. Exhale for length. So sometimes you just hang out in an ab curl, and I'm not accusing you because I do it too. I'm just saying it's something that we can do, is hang out in a position. But rather than doing that, we're trying to elongate more with each exhale. So it's not a hanging out. And your head can press heavy into your hands. And your shoulders slide down. And we'll go for one more each side. And then finish. So you're balanced. And then land one foot, then the other, and stretch back. And if you don't feel that, then maybe I have not done my job, but I believe you probably do. Let's take your spine now into a neutral-ish position, meaning you're going to hover the head and shoulders, sink the ribs, and really lift up on the abdominal wall. Create that space between the back ribs and the pelvis, but keep it neutral so you're not sinking into a curve in the spine. Your gaze can be towards the ceiling, your shoulders down, your chest open. And then from here, we're just going to side bend, truly side bend, bringing your left elbow towards your hip on the left, and then your right elbow to the right. And then keep the abdominals engaged, keep the bottom ribs heavy, but let your chest even spill back a little bit more. So now you're kind of in a stretch for your upper abdominals. Not doing a big back bend, but just letting the ball kind of open the ribs a little bit in the front. And then side bend, side to side. So we're trying to stretch some of this right under those ribs, those upper obliques. Side bend and center and side bend and center. One more each side. And then last one. And then come back to center and rest down. Now, depending on your ball and the elevation it's giving you, you might be able to rest your head down. And if that's possible, go ahead and do so. If not, take your ball out from under your back and then rest your head down. So for example, my ball is not very inflated, so my head is resting easily. I'm going to leave my head on the mat and then take my arms overhead. If your ball is removed, you can do all of this exactly as is. If the ball is there in a way that you are not comfortable with, just like I said, take it out. And you're going to bend the elbows to goalpost arms and then keep coming down by your sides. Take the arms up and overhead to the sky and back, and then bend the elbows, moving into a nice stretch for the front of the shoulders, up and over, and then bend and down. Okay, one more time like that. And then we'll take the hands behind the head once again to help ourselves all the way up. You could curl up, hang onto the legs, and rock and roll all the way up to seated. We'll put the ball out of the way now, and I'm going to have you roll onto your side and give yourself lots of room for your upper body. We're going to use the space for some pinwheel arms. So you're going to take that top hand onto the bottom hand out in front of your shoulders. If you'd like to support your head with a pillow, you're very welcome to do that. And then you're going to just take your top hand forward, get that stretch to the back of the shoulder to become part of your experience. And then circle the hand all the way around your center, keeping it on the mat if you can, to feel into that cross-body stretch again from shoulder to hip. We'll do 2 more like that. Twist and turn and open. Good. And 1 more. Think about all that taffy between your rib cage and your pelvis getting stretched, and you even have taffy between the ribs getting stretched and warmed by all that oblique work, and then bring it back to the center. Okay, we're going to come onto our side of our head is going to rest on our arm now, and we're going to take our feet together, knees together, and move into some yummy clams. Spinning the top knee up towards the sky, feeling into the power of that glute as you twist the thigh bone in the hip socket and stretch into those inner thighs. Right, good. And then taking the top knee up to the ceiling, spinning it there, you're going to take it and let it lift and start to circle. So it's going to go all the way through a clamshell and then circle behind you. Turn the knee up, bring it back, and then only as it gets low to the ground does it kind of come back to parallel. And then spiral. Good. And then when your legs are together next, just simply reverse. Bring the leg back and then turn the knee up towards the ceiling from the back and then all the way to the front. Good. Nice. 2 more. And 1 more. Beautiful. And then take your top leg long, your bottom leg outstretched in front of you. And you're going to take your top foot flexed and lower and lift. And by reaching out through the heel, you create that space between your rib cage and your pelvis on the top side. Right? And then take your top foot and hover it about hip height, and we're going to reach it forward and reach it back. Flex the foot to the front, point the foot to the back, flex and point, and flex and point. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add some movement to the upper body. So reach your top leg back and hold. Take your top arm forward, and then reach both out a little bit further and let your body twist. Your top shoulder is going to come forward just like you were in your pinwheel arms, right? And then kicking the leg forward, your top arm reaches back. You're going to turn your head and shoulders towards the sky. So there's this opening of the chest to the ceiling, and then reach forward. So the upper body's going to rotate, and it's kind of, I mean, it's very exaggerated, but it's kind of what happens in our body when we walk. As we take each step, our torso rotates, and so there's this little massage quality to that movement, and this one is like a little bit of a grander version of that massage to our inner body. And we're reaching and stretching, and 1 more time, long and hold. Let your foot and your hand come towards the mat, land them down like you're hugging the earth with your whole body. And then let's take the legs together. Take your hands to the mat, both of them. And we're going to do some bananas. 2 legs long and strong, inner ankles connecting inward, hands pressed down, shoulders shrug down, head and feet rise up. But we are still trying to get longer through the waist from both sides. Of course, we're going to get a little bit shorter on one side, but if we really encourage space and length as we rise up, we get those deep connections up the center of the body. So we're not just using the superficial stuff, we're going deep. And reach, get longer. Pull your ribs away from your pelvis, draw those shoulders down. Maybe you want to include your top hand floating towards your toes, reaching out, just adding a little bit of balance challenge to this exercise. And again, and then one more time, reach, get long, beautiful, and lower all the way down. We'll move to our tummy on our way to the other side, so pause on your tummy, and just for the left leg, the one you just worked, unless you are opposite me. So if it was your right side, grab your right ankle, left side, grab your left ankle. You're going to hold on to that ankle and stretch. Press your hips into the mat, developing that power in the back of the hips, your glutes and hamstrings connecting, shoulders shrugging down, reaching your heart forward, and then kicking your foot into your hands, sending your chest over the front end of the mat, and breathing, and then lengthening the leg all the way out. We'll roll to the other side. I'll do a flip so I can see ya. As you get situated, you are starting with a pinwheel arm, okay? So your top hand is on your bottom hand out in front of you. Your head might prefer a pillow. It's really about comfort and ease in the neck. So if there's no strain to be here, there's a stretch to be gained. But if it feels straining, then it's better to support that head of yours. So you're circling the arm all the way around your center and feeling your waist, your whole torso twist and stretch that taffy. Don't miss a moment of it. So when you're forward, really reach forward. Overhead, it gets the whole side body, and then as it reaches back, the whole front body, that rib cage and oblique zone especially. Okay, and then you can take your bottom arm out in line with your spine to support your head. And we're going to go into our clamshells, spinning that top knee up towards the ceiling. As we do this, we're getting the glutes engaged and stretching the inner thighs, but really they're working together. So the inner thighs kind of support the leg from underneath and put the brakes on for the glutes as the leg is lifting, and then the glutes put the brakes on for the inner thighs as the leg is coming down. And since we're working against gravity, you're going to feel it more on the way up. And we'll go again, 3 and 2 and 1, and then hold the knee in that spiral open and circle it up and back and around and together, only becoming parallel at the bottom, and then turn it up to the sky, circle it around and down. These big, warming, challenging circles for those big muscles and for some more fine muscles at the depth of your hip joint. And then reverse the direction, pull back, circle knee high to the sky, paying attention to what you feel, keeping your pelvis stable, keeping both sides of your waist long. Nice. And then one more time, and then around and together. Once you're there, we'll stretch the top leg out straight, bottom leg out straight to the front. And we're going to lower and lift first on that top leg. Again, reaching through the heel, pushing it out and away from you helps to create all that space between your ribs and your pelvis on that top side. And you're going to feel into those side muscles of the hip, the gluteus medius, big important connection. And then hover the foot at about the height of your hip, swing the leg forward and pull it back. Right now your leg is like the saloon door, right? Swinging in the hinge. No movement in the torso. It's stable and still and strong. And then we're going to change that completely and go into this taffy mode, right? And we're going to take the top leg back and hold. We're going to reach the top arm forward and then reach more and let that spiral us through our center as the leg reaches back, the arm reaches forward. And then kick the leg forward, reach the top arm back, and maybe your head rolls off your arm to the floor, and that's all good as your shoulders open. And then roll to the twist, and then roll back. Reach out. Enjoy the flowing movement. So it's not about the destination of either end of the movement, but really all the good stuff in between. Reaching back. One more forward before we finish. Opening, and then reach forward and pause. Keep reaching, land the fingertips and toes down and sort of snuggle the earth. Little fond, restful energy, and then bring yourself to stretched out, long and connected for bananas. So you're gonna bring your legs together, hands to the mat, shoulders shrug down, and then stretch your waist long between your pelvis and your rib cage as you rise up. Let the hands support you so there's more opportunity for length. As you lengthen and rise. Good, and lower back down. And stretch out. And lower. We'll go 3 more times. Like this. And 2, stretch out, reach, keep those ankles snug together. And 1 more like this, and then we're gonna add the top arm lengthening for balance, okay? If you need both hands, take that support. If you're having fun with the challenge and wobbling like me, we'll go for that length to the waist still as you rise up and lower and reach and rise. Just 1 more time. Still finding length on both sides as you come up. Good, and lower. And then roll to your tummy. Take hold of that second side ankle. For me, it's the right. For you, it might be the left. And rest your forehead down. Connecting your hips into the mat. Feeling into the stretch of the quad. And then kicking your foot into your hand. Letting it give you just a little lift. So your head floats off of the hand and your heart reaches towards the front end of the mat. Good. And then lower down. Take both legs long, and we're going to just take your hands under your forehead and rest. So in this position, see if you can feel your hips on the mat first and legs stretched out long, and then feel into your torso. And we're going to look for that space between the whole upper body, the rib cage, and the pelvis. In the back, we want space. So you're going to draw your sit bones down to help keep the pelvis moving away from the ribs. And you're going to use some sense of lift up on the bottom ribs in the front to create space in the low back. So from here, what I'm going to have you do is reach your arms back by your sides, hover your nose off of the mat, and then keep your bottom ribs on the mat and start to reach your chest forward just a little bit. As you do this, notice if you start to shorten in the back between your rib cage and your pelvis, and see if you can get longer in the back as you rise up. So you're not doing so much of a back bend, but you're doing this sort of long torpedo where the rib cage is stretching forward and the pelvis is stretching back. And you're just hovering the upper body, the shoulders and the collarbones a little bit away from the mat. And then from there, press your palms towards the ceiling. And keep focusing on stretching the whole waist long, not letting the movement turn into a shortening of the back body. And open the shoulders with each and every repetition. And 3, and 2, and 1. Rest down. And then take your hands to the mat just to the sides of your shoulders. Press the hips into the mat now. Reaching the heart forward, hips heavy. Stretch your body long and start to peel up. So now we are going to back bend, and there is going to be a little bit of a difference in the front and back body, right? But we never just let this collapse. If you can, really think about creating length the whole time you're coming up and then lowering back down. The dynamic addition of length creates that deeper connection of the spine that helps to decompress our back so we don't end up crunching there. And lowering down. And again, stretching, creating that length, using your glutes and your inner thighs, your abdominals to help anchor the pelvis to the mat, hovering your heart forward and up and lowering back down. And then you can come up onto your forearms to come into Sphinx pose. Walk your legs together and then lift up out of the elbows, pull your heart forward, and then add that sense of length through your whole waist. From here, keeping the length, bend your right knee in, heel towards your booty for 1, 2, stretch the leg out long, and left heel kick, 2, stretch out long, find your waist again, and get it to elongate all sides. Even when you're in a bend, you can still become a longer curve rather than a crunched curve. And that's where the core work really comes in. And reach, and kick, and reach, and kick, and reach. One more, left, kick, and reach. Nice job. Go ahead and lower down, push off the mat, and come back into your child's pose. Let it be knees together first, and stretch that back body between the ribs and the pelvis. Especially, you'll feel the invitation to stretch. Few breaths. And then let's bring ourselves to all fours. As you do, bring your roller back to the mat. Set it across the mat and then land your forearms on the roller. In that position, you're just going to do a few little sternum drops, the kind that allows your shoulders to glide, your shoulder blades, I should say, to glide around on your body, on your rib cage, sinking the chest, shoulder blades together, lifting the chest, shoulder blades come apart and wide, and they slide around your rib cage, and we're going to hover up and hold. And then from here, we're going to try to find that length to all sides of our waist. Notice the bottom ribs especially, they can kind of become a little bit sinking, sagging. So we're going to lift those bottom ribs up without rounding. Yeah? Bottom ribs just lift a little bit away from the mat. And then create space between the back ribs and the pelvis, space on all sides. And keep the space as you slide your right foot out along the mat till your leg is straight. And then hold and lift and lower. And can you keep all surfaces of your waist long? Watching out for the back especially, wanting to arch and shorten to get the leg a little higher. So let it be smaller. And then take the leg back, hold, open out to the right, pull center, and open, pull center, open, pull center one more time, and bring it in, knee to the mat. Sink the chest, lift the chest, hold, stretch the left leg back. Hold and steady that whole spacious waist of yours, lower and lift the leg. Keeping your heart centered between your elbows, keeping your hips centered over both knees while you're only on one. Try not to let that turn into a big glide over to the right. And keep all sides of your waist long. And then take your leg long and back, open to the left, pull to the center. Open without shortening your waist and center. Lift those bottom ribs. And again, 2 more times. And pull the knee in. And then take your arms long overhead. I know I said 2 and I did 1, but that's just the way it goes some days. And then you're going to reach your heart forward and just let your chest sink down to the mat. And then round your spine to bring the roller in. Okay, we're going to bring the roller under our knees now and set our hands on the mat. Nice and wide. And in this position, you're going to just try to find that length again to all sides of your waist. And then you're going to lengthen and round
the spine. So yes, we're going to connect in the front, but if we really focus on lengthening the back body, we get deeper into our core. And then keep lengthening, lift the knees and bring the roller forward. Push the earth away. Inhale the knees back. Exhale, push the earth down to lift the ribs and create that length to the back body. And again. So you're not just doing an ab curl, you're stretching your back. And you're using your deep core muscles to do it. Your eyes are gazing back towards your thighs. Your arms are long, your shoulders are wide. 2 more. And 1 more. And then bring your knees back to the roller. Your toes can come down.
Okay. That's empowering, yes. We're going to bring our roller under our shins now, more near the ankle, and then hands and knees to the mat. Okay. And then, further development, you're going to take your elbows to the mat. And then you're going to start with a stretched out spine. And on the exhale, we're going to roll to a plank. So you're going to stretch your legs back, long. See if you can keep all that length to the back of the body and then pull the knees in, land them down. Okay? So we're going to repeat that 4 times. Exhale out. Lift those bottom ribs as you find your plank. And then bend the knees back in. And 3 more times. Ribs lift. And in. And ribs lift. And in. 1 more time. And then bring it in and rest. Okay. I'm going to take the roller now out from under our feet and come to all 4s. Wide hands, long spine, and then we're going to step the right foot back into our plank. Step the left foot back and hold. Stretch out long. Think about the top of the head and the feet, both pushing into opposite walls. Push and get longer. Then lift those bottom ribs and create space between the back ribs and the pelvis through that core work. And then take your right foot, float, bring it towards your right elbow. Right knee to the left elbow, twist, and then right knee to the center, land it down behind your right hand. The ankle can cross your midline. And we're going to rest into a pigeon stretch. If you prefer the figure 4 stretch, feel free to do that. Lifting up first out of the fingertips, hover the heart high. See if you can create that space between your rib cage and your pelvis even here. And then spend maybe 2-3 breaths with your head and forehead stretched over the thigh and resting down. Much like your child's pose, inviting that back body to expand. And then take your hands to the mat. Offer yourself that spacious lift again. Tuck your toes under on the back foot and step back to downward dog. Giving yourself that chance between planks to reset. Shoulders down. And then you're going to take your hips forward into your plank on the second side. Lift those bottom ribs. Feel your pelvis sort of open to the front, but your thighs press to the sky. Heart forward. Left foot lifts, and then left knee to left elbow. Once again, and then knee to right elbow, cross the body, center, and then bring it forward, but rest it down, and organize into a stretch on the left side. Fingertips to the mat, shoulders dropping down. Figure 4 if that's your jam. Heart forward, and then lowering down, taking a little breather in. That melted position. Left glute stretching, spine opening to the back. And then as you're ready, you'll take your hands to the mat, under the shoulders. Tuck your toes under on that back foot, and then step back into your downward dog. Reorient to that position by softening the knees.
And then stretching the arms to straighten, drawing the shoulders away from the ears, letting the crown of the head reach towards the thumbs. And then from there, stretch the heels towards the mat, the thighs towards the sky, and your low abdominals in and up. And then from there, bend one knee, stretching the calf on one side and then the other. And then we'll walk it out, massaging those feet, massaging those calves, offering them some of the warmth the rest of the body is benefiting from. And then start to walk your feet forward towards your hands. Knees are bent as much as they need to be, and then you'll just pause in a forward bend. Soft knees, hold elbows, and rest. Then we're going to just lower the hips a little bit more, then a little bit more, a little bit more until we're sitting quite low. Let the arms start to hang down towards the mat and then reach them forward at an angle. Shrug the shoulders back. And now core engages as you hover your your ribs off of your thighs. Lower the hips, lift the ribs. Lower the hips, pull the ribs back. Lower the hips, pull the ribs back. Bring your arms overhead. Shrug the shoulders down. Breathe as you hover. Keep reaching your sit bones back and down. Your ribs pull back from your thighs. And 3, 2, 1. Push into the earth. Rise up. Reach your arms around and to your sides. Taking your feet a little wider than your hips and shoulders. Just a nice wide stance. Taking your hands to your hips. You're going to glide your hips to the right and to the left. And then circle them around the center point under your body and then reverse that direction. And then bring yourself back to the center. Take your feet quite narrow underneath you. And we're going to bring our hands to the low belly, just inside of those bony hip points, the as-is. And you're just going to lift up tall. Think about the space between your ribcage and your pelvis. Increase that distance on all sides and really think about the back. And then from there, fingertips on those muscles just between your as-is. You're going to march one leg and then the other. And here is a place where, whether you are purposeful about it or not, your core is going to engage. But the magic that we've been working on all morning is creating a balanced sort of, we've created balance in the core. So if we do our core work with our back arched, right, we're going to kind of dominate that experience from the back. So creating space in the back, it's bringing harmony to the front and back and to our two sides. So our march is practicing core work, and our alignment is putting our core work into its best possible sort of relationship with your posture and your gait and your future movement of this day and the next few. So when you are balanced right to left, bring your feet down. Take them and just land them in a way that feels really sort of rooted. And then take your arms on a big circle out. Feel the world around you. And then stretch your arms long and back down. Take that again one more time, and as you reach out, feel the world around you, rooting into the earth. Feel how spacious your waist can be as your arms reach up. And then keep all of that space between the ribcage and the pelvis as you allow your arms and hands to settle at your heart. As always, it's an honor to have you in class. I hope that you feel just super amazing, and I'd love to see you again. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. You will be notified when new videos are made available. You can also follow me on Instagram at arwenbrooke_Pilates, and you can find everything you need to know about me and Pilates and my classes, and also upcoming workshops and other special events on my website at arwenbrooke.com. So leave feedback below in the comments. I'll always respond. And if you have any questions at all, I'll answer them there as well. And I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.